time in history has panic ever proved to be the solution for anything. And although things are a little crazy right now, we can look at this as an opportunity to learn something about ourselves. And, one of the greatest things we've got is being in touch with ourselves, because we actually are nature. We are as much nature as nature outside this house is, in the wild. And so our way of getting connected to nature is actually done through understanding our own physiology and how our mind actually works and being connected or integrated into that network. And one of the easiest ways to do that is through breath control, or even just being aware of our breathing. And so when we think of kind of panicking, the easiest way to think of panic type breathing is when people are kind of breathing really fast and freaking out and talking and going really hard, and right? And so even as I talk and I'm talking to the camera or talking to you, this becomes quite evident in my own, if I'm paying close enough attention to myself. Whenever I'm speaking to groups or I'm talking in front of people, I can feel myself get heightened and get turned on, right? And there's nothing wrong with that in terms of what I'm doing right now. It's just being able to feel it and be okay with with what's going on and understanding that. When we think of things like calming down, we think of the easiest thing to think about with breathing is maybe being asleep, and how much slower our breath or respiration rate changes when we sleep. And if you've ever paid attention to anybody sleeping, or even an animal sleeping, you will notice that breath goes from something that's faster, right, to and completely changes. And there's a reason for that. When we change our breathing patterns, our nervous system changes. And so from our autonomic nervous system works with two branches, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Our sympathetic is our fight, flight, freeze, or our on, and our parasympathetic is our rest, digest, reproduce, recover, calm, creative place, right? Or sleep, right? And so we're not necessarily needing to be asleep, but the more parasympathetic dominant we are, the easier it is for us to adapt and actually process and understand what's going on and be in connection with our own nature. So teaching that and providing that for people is one of the things that I've done. And the easiest way to do that is to really get people breathing again and controlling their breathing and just sitting even for a couple minutes and breathing. And so in times of like heightened sympathetic activity or panicking or freaking out, the easiest thing we can do is just instill a slow, calm breathing pattern that might go up and then it slowly comes down. And if I just follow something like that, I can actually calm my physiology and my nervous system down really quickly. And then in times of where I need to be high focused or high on, I start talking and I start ramping up. And so understanding this is actually putting us back in tune with nature, your nature. And this is our connection to things. And this is how we can actually learn from stress, because stress isn't actually going anywhere. So our nervous system is kind of this thing that allows us to play with, whether we can just let it ride on autopilot or we can take back control of it. Hence autonomic nervous system, so it can do its job by itself, be on autopilot, or we can actually take control of it. And the entire job of the nervous system is to actually be in an autonomous state or its own, where we don't have to think about anything, it can just go on autopilot. And that's what a lot of us tend to do in kind of heightened stress situations, instead of actually calming down and having a little bit more of a clearer head about things. And so we've got these five senses, and our visual system, our hearing, right? We can hear, our taste, right? Smell through the nose, we smell things, and then touch, we can touch things. And this is our immediate environment and what we're sensing. And then our brain interprets what that is or what it means. And then we can create stories on that. And that's where things can kind of get off track sometimes in what we think, right? But our visual system plays a part in this as well. And so we can use panoramic vision for things, which is panoramic is when I get far out. And as I get further away from this camera, I can see more of the room, and so I start to shift. And so when your TV is really far away from you, if you're watching TV, you can actually start to downshift some, even though it's a screen, right? But when we have a phone or a screen right in front of us, oh my gosh, I'm getting more heightened. Things are turning on. Think of social media. I've got it right in front of my face and I'm doing things. We go into more of this focused, sympathetic side of things. And so I'm not suggesting you can't go on social media, and that's where a lot of us are going right now because we're staying inside, we're not going out. But it'd be a very good idea if we're gonna do that to actually do it from a further distance and even consider coming off of it and going outside and doing and investing in time in more of a panoramic place in calmer breathing, because this actually is another way of getting in touch with your nature and understanding how to control what's going on with your physiology or understand what's going on with your physiology so that you're actually having better control over the mind and your nervous system and what's going on. And so with the breathing patterns and the visual things, we can actually just play with these things throughout the day to understand them. And even just 5 minutes of sitting down and calmly breathing gives us more of an ability to actually regulate our nervous system and stay calmer in heightened stress situations. So the key to this is actually to stay as positive as possible, to stay in control of the mind, of our minds and our nervous system, and how we actually are responding or reacting to our environments. We don't want to react, we want to respond. And this is where bringing ourselves downshifting into a more calm place actually allows us to respond to things, right? And so another thing that we can do here is really just consider the fact that we're staying inside and go and cook more. Get creative in the kitchen. It doesn't matter what you cook. You can eat it. Just play with it. Get creative with that. That's actually a very parasympathetic thing that we can actually get ourselves into in a very creative space, and just keeping our mouths shut and learning how to do it, or have a conversation with somebody if you want to. But if you're by yourself or you're alone in the kitchen, it's a great thing to do, is just shut your mouth and actually play with cooking and invest in spending time with food. This is going to play a part in how well you actually are playing with your health along with our breathing. And the fact is with our breathing, the more nasal breathing we're doing, the more we're investing in our immune system and the air that's coming in, and we're filtering and responding to that air with a lot of the first layer of our immune system is set up in the nose, and how we actually can handle that. Hairs in the nose actually filter out particles. The mucus catches more of the dirt and particles, and then T cells go to work in the mucus, and it's a part of this system in the nose cavity and in the sinuses that actually helps invest in a healthier standpoint with what we're doing, right? And so eating healthier food, eating food at home, eating a home-cooked meal, we've all known is better for us. So taking care of these things, in the kitchen and breathing. And then the other big thing here is gonna be to move more. You've got a hell of an opportunity to spend some time moving, and moving is what we are designed to do, and we've got to move. So invest in something that can help you move more, even if it's just getting outside and going for a walk, because that's free to do. And being outside and in the wild and in the environment outside is going to be perfectly fine as long as we're not in crowded areas and we're out in nature and getting in touch with our own nature. So invest in this and have some fun with it, and try and stay as positive as possible. This can be a very, very big opportunity in order for you to learn more about your own nature and how things work.